Today, over 1 billion children in the world live in poverty. At Help Heal Humanity, our goal is to connect children in need with people like you who want to make a difference. Our student sponsorship program helps provide children with the necessities for a healthy and successful start to life. When you sponsor a student, you're not only giving them the gift of education, you're giving them the best chance for a brighter future. 100% of your donation supports the tuition fees, uniforms, textbook, and school supplies needed to thrive in a safe and healthy learning environment. Sponsor a student now and be the catalyst for their brighter future.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I am doing well, lady. Doing well. How you doing?
I am doing very well. Doing very well. So just all sorts of fun things are happening, which is always good. So it makes your day go, makes your day start out well.
Very well, especially when I come on the show with the other Barbara. I mean,
of course, we're the
BBs.
We're the BBs.
We're the BBs. Now, okay, we're always open and vulnerable. We're open to, we'll just say what we need to say, right? we have no shame. So as the show was going on, as commercials are going on this morning,
yeah,
I'm like, okay, I do 2 or 3 and then we'll come on.
Right.
And then all of a sudden my system freezes up. So I'm like,
oops,
can't get to the show. I can't do the other commercial. So if you notice, it was blue for a while.
There was a little, I saw that. I said, oh, well, tech issues. You just laugh. You can't do anything about it.
I was like, okay, I can't get in there. Barbara can't get in there. It's just there.
I just said it was all I saw was that it's live. I went, okay, so we're live. Yeah, okay.
Now it's funny because when you don't want it live because something like that happens, you want it to cut off, but
right,
it didn't cut off.
So,
it just was like, okay.
That was the dramatic pause before the wonderful.
The pregnant pause. The
Pregnant pause.
They may have speaking the pregnant
Exactly.
pause.
Exactly.
But yeah. But I have to say, I had, okay, it's a twofold here for me for this past weekend.
Let's hear it.
It was exciting, wonderful, amazing, and sick. Sick. So I was in a 3-day online seminar with Lisa Nichols and her crew.
She is amazing.
Oh, Barbara.
I took one of her speaking classes. I mean, she's absolutely amazing.
I was just, from Friday, because it was from like 9 to 7.
Oh yeah,
Saturday and Sunday. And first I was like, okay, this is gonna be a long time. But you know what? I didn't feel none of it. All I felt was just more and more and more and more. And in the end on Sunday, I was like, I feel like I was in a cloud 16 or something.
Exactly. You could sit through another day. And people go, how can you do that? Because you are just being filled in your soul.
Yes, Barbara. But then I was being filled and everything. I was also sick. So I was sick. So I was like, okay, I'm battling. I'm drinking my tea. I'm, doing the stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I love this so much, but I'm sick. But I said, you know what? I went through it.
And you did it.
Yeah.
And aren't you glad? This is one of the reasons that we just love online events. Because
it was hybrid. It was hybrid. I mean, it was nice because there was like 455 people online.
Yeah. Wow.
And it was like she had like 300 in person. And
And
you felt like you was with them. And they did it so well. Because sometimes certain hybrid, it don't work. I've been to a few and it's kind of like, you feel all left out. They forget about you. They forget that you're there or whatever, because, it's both, they got to do both. But she handled it. She had a team just to make sure we were good on Zoom. Then she had a team on stage and then we were looking at the stage. So we were all there together. I mean, they did it well. Yeah. They did it well.
Yeah. I mean, it's really come a long way. And as much as people said how awful all the craziness was I'm not even saying the word anymore. Of all the craziness of the world that went on, we are going to look back on this 5 years from now, even this year. Look at the progress that we have made for those of us that can't travel, and nor do you want to travel, because let's face it, when going to these events, I was spending small fortunes on the events. Absolutely needed them for my certifications.
Yeah. Yeah.
But boy, it's sure nice now to, like, I'm in the process of doing my positive intelligence certification class. But I'm doing it online. So I'm not.
And it saves money. Yeah.
Where?
Yeah, I know that helps you. So it helps you, and I know so many others out there, including, I know what you're saying. And I mean, there's a lot of people from different countries that's able to come and be able to be part of it, where before maybe they couldn't do it because, like you said, with the long,
Oh, the days of only having live events and only having online events. There is going to be that.
The hybrid thing is the new thing now, because they're basically saying that you have to do both to get the full, effective for everybody.
Because you know what, whatever floats your boat. Like, I love live events. Like the one I went to in August, I'm going to another one in January. The thing is, though, now we get to pick and choose.
Yeah, that's what I like about that. Yeah.
Once in a while, there are events that, do I really want to go there for that?
And it's because travel.
And then all the traveling, the expense, and just all of the things that go into going to an event. Mm-hmm. This way, if I put out, a little bit on an online event and I get through the first day and go, why am I listening to this? Well, okay, fine. Yeah, I'm done.
You could be like, well, I'm not there. I mean, I just turn it off.
I'm done. I'm just not gonna come tomorrow.
That's a good option.
It really does give you the option of doing that. So that's really, because I'll tend to, look at things and go, gee, maybe I'll try it for an hour or so and just see, because sometimes you don't like the speakers, or they just don't gel with what you value.
I've
All
been
of those things can, and I've, and it's like
there.
one time I went to an event, it was like, what am I doing here?
Yeah. But I'm laughing because I've been there a few times myself. I'm like, and then I got upset at myself because I'm like, I sat here and wasted money.
I have sat here for 2 days because I couldn't change my flight because I was in Orlando. I was not happy. And it was like, what am I doing here?
Oh, I know you weren't a happy camper.
And it just, and I try to always make the best of things. So the second day, I have to admit, instead of going to the event, because, I truly believe that anytime you go to an event, if you get even one thing out of it, it's been a successful event.
Agree.
I got to the end of the first day and went, gee, what did I get? And it was like, I didn't really feel any love for the event. And I just said, so I went, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to go to the first one again and just see if it was just me, because sometimes it is.
Yeah.
You're just not in a receptive mood or whatever. So I went to the next one and then I went, yeah, no, I'm done. And I went to the pool. So I went to the pool.
You have to do you. You have to find something, like you said, to just say, okay, I got to offset this.
I'm done. Was just like, yeah, what am I doing here? And why am I listening to this? So I was done. But anyways, so we have to celebrate today.
Oh, okay. We're celebrating
because it's National Chocolate Cupcake Day.
Oh no! Well, I'm not celebrating now. I'll let you celebrate that.
But no, I'm not a big cupcake person. I'm a cookie girl.
I'm a cookie girl. You're a cookie girl. I'm a little bit of both, but the thing that's messed up for me is I'm allergic to chocolate. So it was vanilla cupcake day, then I'd be like, yay.
Okay. Well, but the thing is, what, cupcakes never used to be called cupcakes.
Okay, give us some history. I know you know.
They were called fairy cakes.
Fairy cakes?
Fairy cakes or patty cakes.
Patty cakes. I'm thinking pancakes, but it's patty cakes.
No, they were patty cakes. And then they were cupcakes. But that was two words, not like the word that we have that is all one word to designate any kind of cupcake. But they were different. Fairy cakes were different than patty cakes, and cupcakes were different than patty cakes and fairy cakes. Not quite sure what the differences were, but I think it was ingredients. Now it's all cupcakes, and now you have whole stores that are cupcake stores. Really? Seriously.
See, I love when you bring the history. Because I would have never knew about that.
So when do you think the first cupcake was done?
See, Mari, I know you know this too. the really first cupcake.
First cupcakes.
I'm gonna throw it out there.
Think old.
What you said? Okay, 1750.
Oh, you're close. 1796.
Oh, that's the first time I got kind of close to
the right century. The right century. It was a recipe notation that they used to always make the cakes in these earthen, these big earthen. But I guess somebody wanted to do something that was smaller for like a child or something. So that was that. And anyways, it was in a magazine called The American Cookery by Amelia Simmons.
Wow.
But then the documentation of the term came into being in 1828, and it became an official thing. Like in 1796, it was just a notation that you could make this cake in smaller containers.
Okay.
So, but then in 1828, it became a specific thing, and it was 75 recipes for pastries, cakes, and sweetmeats.
Wow.
So back in 1828, it was like, oh wow. And now we have, as like I said, we have
a show. They have a cooking show, which is about cupcakes, and they make every kind of cupcake in the book.
Every kind of cupcake.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite kind of cupcake?
Ooh, Well, I like either if it's cinnamon in it or vanilla. I like the vanilla or the white, like a white cake, but a white cupcake. And then on the top of it, I like, either the frosting is like a cinnamon type. I like cinnamon type of stuff.
Me too.
Yeah. It's like,
I like the cupcakes that they have that it's like a crunch. It's like the top is crunchy with all the nuts and the cinnamon and all of that. And then the frosting on top. Oh, yeah.
Barbara, your face.
But we're not going to do that today.
Well, no, and I can't even find it if I wanted to, so I'm not going to be trying to search because it's gotten cold outside. Can you believe it was
gotten cold outside?
I couldn't believe. I said, okay, this kind of stuff supposed to happen around like maybe mid-November, maybe begin December. I was saying that to somebody yesterday, a client, and they said, "What's your temp?" I said, "We're at 32." That was yesterday.
Right. Oh, it's been
32 degrees. Yeah. They're like, because they're in they're in Florida, right? So they're like, have fun. They were like, have fun with that.
Exactly. That's like some friends of mine are out in Utah and it's still beautiful out there. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should move to Utah for the fall. But yeah, it's just, I have to say that right now, I mean, I have my warm fuzzy on and I'm wrapped in a blanket. And
I was too, just before I came on. I was on the couch
in a blanket.
Relaxing for a minute. I had the blanket on around me and I was like feeling so cozy. I was like, ooh, it feels good. And I said, wait a minute, Barbara, you got to get ready for the show.
But that's one of the nice things about Zoom is that, you can't. Well, I've just told on myself that I'm wrapped in a blanket, but anyways.
That's okay. But you look beautiful. You never know. You never know.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. And a friend of mine, she said, whenever I wear this, she says it matches your wallpaper. Your wall.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I said it's matching the background that you have. Yeah.
It matches my background. The thing is, though, my actual walls are that color. Are this color. So yeah, it's and it was like, oh brother, why do you? But you do the things that make you happy.
Yeah. And you should.
Quick little thing today that's going to kind of go along with our guest. I watched a podcast the other day and, I listen to podcasts just because you learn things and, a coach is always learning new coaching things. Yeah. Anyways, it was on finding your superpowers. And, you hear superpowers all the time, because, Marvel, the Marvel comics and Superman and all the
Wonder Woman and all that. Yeah.
One of the things that really struck me about it is that so many people like Clark Kent is Superman, but how does Superman use his superpower? Well, he just does because it's part of him. Well, that's where we have to find out what our superpower is because each and every one of us has one. And the thing is, one of the things that he brought out, and his name was Michael Tertis. It's what are the things that you do automatically don't think anything of, and yet other people are absolutely miraculous, think that it's absolutely miraculous. And how do you do that? That's your superpower. So like with me, people say to me all the time, how do you just do all these shows? Because this energizes me. I love doing it. It's just who I am. I'm a show host. I love doing it. I have no problem just being, let's just do this now at the drop of a hat. Because that's who I am. That's part of me. It's such a part of me. So, but part of it is the story of where you came from. I can remember as a kid wanting to it's like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to be on the radio? From the time I was a kid, I would love to have it be on the radio.
Okay.
And yet, so I'm not quite on the radio, but boy, having up with this podcast has been on for 2.5 years. I'm on the radio.
Yeah, you're on streaming. You're on TV streaming. You're on Roku. You're on Apple TV. You're on Amazon TV. Yes.
Exactly.
You made it.
So something, what is something that you have been that you have wanted to do back when you were a kid, but now life has gotten in the way. So, but now what have you done that you have overcome, what has been going on? Like and with me, just you're living your life, you're doing your job, and you're not necessarily doing what your life purpose is. So that's why when you can look back and say, well, gee, what did I really want to do? And it's just being aware that there's an option out there.
Yes.
So many people are going through life. Well, I have no choice. This is what I'm doing. You always have a choice. Each and every day. Like if you right now are doing something that you don't particularly enjoy, sit back, think about what you don't enjoy about it. What can you do to enhance it, to make you enjoy it? Or what are you going to do to change it, to do something else?
Yeah. I always tell people, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I was going to add to that. I'm so glad you said that, because I always tell people when they get so upset and they be like, oh, I hate this, or I don't like doing this, or I hate this job, I hate this job, I hate this job. And I look at them, I'm like, okay, so first I used to be like, oh, I'm so proud. I used to be that way. Now it's like, well, what are you going to do about it?
What are you going to change it?
You have a choice. You can make a decision here. We can talk. If you want to talk to me, let's talk. But sitting here complaining, all that energy can go into something that you really want to do instead of complaining about what you don't like to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then the rest of the part of the podcast about was like, well, how do you find that? Well, go back to your core values. It starts there.
Yes.
Like for me, one of my core values is to have impact. That's something that I want to do in the world. I want to make a difference in the world of how people live their life. And that's where my mission comes in. I want happiness to be the norm rather than the exception, because every one of us deserves to lead a happy, healthy, financially free, abundant life. Now, how am I going to help people to do that? Well, I'm going to we bring guests on this show that can help people in all different areas.
Yeah.
We've had financial girls on. We've had, all sorts of things on. We've had crypto girls on. We've had all sorts of things on, because what can we do? So that's where our mission, you and I, that's where our missions and our values collide. And this show is the result of it.
Yes, definitely. I mean, because we're both want to create impact. I mean, me, just on the other spectrum, just like kind of like what you said, the happiness, but I'm even to the point of, I want people to really understand what we're talking about earlier, their passion, their purpose, passion, and drive. And I always talk about the PPD. And I was like, I really want, especially women, I'm really, really gung on women, because a lot of times we always take a back seat sometimes to everything else. And I'm like, stop taking that back seat. You are important. You're amazing. You're wonderful. All the spectacles of every woman out there. I always say that. So that's why I call women queens. I was
exactly.
Because I think it was royalty.
We'll leave you with a quote. And this is from a guy named Howard Durman. Okay. Don't ask yourself, because I know you love quotes, and this would be a great one that you could use sometimes. I know you love quotes.
Okay, good.
Okay. Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what brings you alive, and then do that. Ooh. Because the world needs more people who have come alive.
Ooh, I like that.
Isn't that huge? Find out what your gifts are. Each and every one of you who are listening to this, you have a gift.
I'm writing it down.
And bring it, and then just bring it to what you really care about. What is something that you care about? And then because once you have that shift in consciousness, we've talked about before, having your mind is set. Well, then now you need to have a mind shift to get into mind flow. That's what this journey is. That's that hero's journey. Where were you Ooh, you need one little piece of shift to then go, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be going. This is where I am meant to go. This is what's going to make me alive.
Yes. And I'd rather spend all that energy in trying to make me alive
Being you alive.
Than to make me miserable. And
because when you're alive, the people around you go, oh, wow. It's like taking that breath of life. You laughed so hard the first time I did that to you. Taking the breath of life. You still laugh about it.
You got me on that one.
I got you on that one. And it's absolutely the truth. Take that breath. When you take that first breath and then go, oh, right. And it impacts everything else down the way.
Yes, it does. Yes,
you're alive. And right at this minute, you can make a change in your next breath. So that's my speech of the day.
Don't waste your breath. Yes.
Don't waste your breath.
Okay, Barbara, before we go to sponsor real quick, we're going to bring on our wonderful guest queen. Can you just introduce her real quickly? And then we're going to go right into.
I met Amy. Oh, gee. It's been a few weeks. But once in a while you meet people that you just automatically know that you are going to just, wow, Amy was one of those. In the first 5 minutes, I was like, I know that I already love you.
Oh, see.
And we felt that same way about each other. Because, we are on the same wavelength. We want to help people, especially women, to just reach our highest potential.
Yeah.
And that's what this show is about. To reach your highest potential. What are you called to do? And that's kind of what this show was about already. Find your superpower. Yeah. Well, Amy helps you to do that.
Yeah, and just to make it more, because this woman, I was reading about her, and she's a sustainable lifestyle coach, mentor, and retreat leader. Which I thought was interesting. I was like, oh, I can't wait to hear a little bit about that too. Yep. So let's make our sponsors happy. And then we're going to bring on Mrs. Queen Amy, and then we're going to kind of discuss a little bit of what she does for the world.
We're going to love her.
Is a world changer, right?
World changer. Yeah.
Bring on the world changer.
Good Friday, everyone. Your real worth isn't defined by your net worth. What makes you valuable is how you use what you have been given. All of us have gifts. Make sure you're making the most of yours. Have an amazing Friday.
It is now the bottom of the hour. I'm excited to welcome Nancy Matthews to our program today. Nancy is an author of a book. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it in the carousel for you guys. There it is, The One Philosophy. I want to talk to Nancy not only about the release of the book, but also what it's been like for her to share the message with all of you guys. Nancy, great to have you on with us.
Hello, hello, hello. So happy to be here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
That was quite a wonderful introduction. You've raised the bar pretty high for me.
We had such a good talk.
Yes, we did.
It was just one of those things that, you just meet people that you just like, oh, wow.
Aw.
We hit it off, and you were one of them. And I was so, and I'll plug for my other show. We had you on one of my other shows, and it's coming out soon. And so, you just, when you get people that share the same values. So tell us about you. I've kind of given you a little bit. but
Yes.
about you and how you came to be doing what you're doing. I'm not sure what happened to Barb, but she'll be back.
Okay. Well, it's interesting. I was listening to the last 10 minutes of your discussion with Barb, and I loved the topic of superpowers. And I was thinking about what I think one of mine is, and probably my biggest one is being a catalyst for change, which is why I named my coaching business that. And I've really felt like I've been a catalyst for change on whatever I have focused my attention. So for the last 14 years, that's been coaching and retreats. However, before that, whether it's, running the Chamber of Commerce as the chair of the board, or starting nonprofits and doing community organizing, whatever it is, like you, I am really trying to make a difference in the world. And one of the big ways is by really helping people create their best life in the same ways that I've been doing for myself. And so that's really at the essence of what I do. And I think I've actually changed my title again. I'm calling myself an eco-friendly transformational coach and mentor and retreat leader, because I feel like the sustainability is too hard for people to really understand what that means.
And that's true. I love the fact that you just said that, because there are iterations. Like I look back on, like I started out as a personality science trainer.
Oh, wow.
And love doing that. But that's also part of changing your life, is getting in touch.
Exactly.
Getting in touch with who you are. And it starts with knowing your personality.
Right.
And that was the start of me knowing. It's like, once I started learning it, it was like, that's why I do that. Oh, that's why I do that. And Barb can say the same thing. It's like, oh, that's why I do that. Because she's done my personality assessment. And it's like, oh yeah. And it's like, oh, that's why I do that. And when we can get in touch with who we are at that level, then it's like, oh, okay. So now how is that impacting other stuff that I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we can and exactly what we talked about in the first half. You can reinvent yourself as much
anytime. Absolutely.
That suits you. That because
agreed.
As you grow, like with that, as you evolve, more can bring more things to the table, and you can just have more things that you can offer people.
Exactly.
And that's
so you know what my belief is about that? I feel like sort of my spiritual beliefs are that, we're souls living in these human bodies, right? And we're here to have all these experiences and learn and grow. And so what I typically try to focus on is connecting with that soul part of myself. I feel like that's the wisest part of us. Right. And if we can be aware of and living life from that place, instead of the ego and the fears and all the beliefs that we've accumulated. And I see you have a friend.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's our mascot.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, mine might chirp in at some point, but yeah. So I think that that's maybe even more important now than ever before. The more that we live from that place of our soul, the better we're going to get along. The more likely we're going to be able to connect with other people, even that might have completely opposing views. I feel like that's where we're headed as a human population.
Right. And that's one of the things that so many people now started, I think, with the Dalai Lama, but that this is going to be the decade of the woman. Because
oh God, I hope so.
What we're talking about is the more feminine side of business. We have been living in a masculine world for
absolutely
centuries, but now more of the cooperation, collaboration, all of those things. Because I love that African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like
that. Yes.
Ooh, well, you're right on about the masculine world and the feminine, because I've talked to a number of women who have been, in big positions in a corporate role. And oftentimes I hear them say, I had to be like a man in order to become successful in that realm. And I think, oh gosh, what is sacrificed in that respect? It's not a very happy place. I can't imagine.
Yeah. And I think we all once in a while get put in positions where we do that. I know when my husband took sick, I became the breadwinner and I had to make the decision. So I had to go into the male, into that those man energies of being just being, more forceful, more
Yes.
all of those things that we love about men. We want them to be that way.
Right.
But you know what? I want to say something about that. I'm glad you brought that up, Barbara. Is when we say, we had to step into and be that forceful, that, and I'm thinking as women, just because women can do that and we're women and we can be forceful and
absolutely
that way. And I think sometimes that's where the separation comes automatically. People put that separation there when they say that, and I understand what you were saying, but I feel like as women, we need to understand that we can be nice, we can be nurturing, and we can also be forceful and abrasive to what we're talking about, and believe real wholeheartedly what we do. And we stand on it. So I think that we have to look at that.
Yeah, don't you think sometimes it's labeling? That, what is forceful in a man is aggressive in a woman.
Right, and women are called bitchy, and
right. So we need to get past that stereotype to the collaboration and the cooperation. And a friend of ours that Barb knows, Nancy Matthews, the co-opetition.
Oh, that's an interesting term.
Yeah, it's not competition anymore.
Yeah,
it's co-opetition. How can we do things together to make the world better?
Right, and I love that quote: "The rising tide lifts all boats." I say that often.
Yeah,
I like that. Oh, this is wonderful quote. Thank you.
Quote morning.
I love the quote.
One of my favorite sayings is that if you have been through it, if you have survived it, you're now on the other side of it, then you need to share it, because someone else is just at the beginning.
Right. I agree with you there.
That's what is so important. And I think that's where the more feminine nurturing comes in. We have to share our journey. We talked about the first part, the hero's journey. We have to share our journey.
Right. Right. And I think that by doing that, it gives other people, women in particular, permission to experience something different for themselves. Right. If they, I think that's been the case for humans for centuries, as we see, let's say somebody who's a marathon runner and they did a marathon in, record time, then that makes it possible for everybody else to say, oh, wow, that person did it, so maybe I can do it.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that gives us hope.
When Roger Bannister did the 4-minute mile?
Something like that, yes.
You can't do a 4-minute mile. Well, within a couple of weeks, several people broke his record.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
It's like, I guess you can be done. Yeah. But that's one of the beauties of it too. Yeah. And there's a place for everyone.
Oh, and the connection is, and another thing about sharing your hero story is the connection that you have. Yeah. I know when I shared my story, I know we all have some wonderful stories, but just one of the stories I shared when I was bullied when I was younger, very heavily. Mm-hmm. And I put it out there, and all the women, they were raising their hand like, I know I was there. I was bullied there. Uh-huh. And it was, even when they were a child, sometimes some of them said they were bullied at work, or they were bullied in the family, or they were. Yeah. So it's like, if I didn't come out and say that, everybody else wouldn't have felt like maybe they should say that. And I was like, wow, we're all sisterhood just because of what we dealt with and what we moved through. And we can help each other. So
right. And I think what's so beautiful about that too is that your sharing and being vulnerable like that has opened up the door for other people, right? That wouldn't have had happened,
right?
Perhaps,
and that might have needed to open up, And I totally hardly believe that. I always tell people I'm not ashamed of any story in my life to say it out loud, because if it's going to help at least one individual, then I did my job, and I want
exactly. Yeah. And it also helped you become who you are today.
Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I typically don't look at my life with any regrets. I feel like everything that I've done has gotten me to another step. And, I typically try to follow the curiosity and I call it the downloads. I get these downloads from the universe or my higher self. And it's like, oh, okay, let me try that. Oh, something like that just happened. I know what it was. So I've been having, this is such a weird thing, but I've been having some foot pain issues. And I think it was because I wore flip-flops too much this summer and I didn't have enough arch support. So I've been having this foot pain, and I was trying to figure out, well, should I go to a podiatrist? I've never been to one of those before. And then I was watching this show, and this man, one of the characters said something about bubble wrap slippers. And I thought, oh, that's a great idea. So I went downstairs. I had leftover bubble wrap. I put them in my slippers, and it's like, oh my gosh, this has made all the difference just from a television show thought, So
that's
one random thing.
Yeah. It's funny how things happen that way in the universe. You'd be like, oh, okay, thank you.
Exactly. And it's been a game changer.
Right.
Wow.
And I think part of it is that you were open to it.
Yes, exactly. And looking for solutions.
And looking for, and I think that's the biggest thing. Ooh. And yet, how often have people said, well, that's not going to work?
Right. Constantly people do that.
Try.
Yes.
They're not open to trying. And that is where we talked about the mindset, that their mind is set in their.
Yes. I have such trouble with people that are so rigid like that can't or won't take any steps to make change. They know that things are bad, but they're just going to wallow in it. That's so hard to be around because I want to fix the situation.
It's like, what part of this are you? Just try one little step. Take one little step, and they just can't. It's so totally foreign to them.
Right. And I think it gets into that whole sort of victim persona.
Yeah.
Right. There's some of us who really seem to flourish with this victim persona because it gets attention, even if it's negative attention. And I think it just reinforces the whole idea of not doing anything different. So, if I can just call myself a victim and everything bad happens to me and I have a black cloud hanging over me, then I don't have any responsibility because it's kind of out of my hands.
Right.
Which is not true, but I think that's the way.
I have a friend like that.
And I do too.
I think we all got a friend like that.
We probably all do.
I think, but and I mean, the only thing I can do for her is pray for her.
Right.
But she's just she's a born victim, and she doesn't want to take any responsibility. Well,
exactly.
You can do this for yourself. Because I even taking something. I'm in the wellness space, and it was like I took her over some of my gave her the scoop and everything, half a scoop in a glass of water.
Yeah.
So then I was like,
drink it?
And to drink. All she has to do is put it in water.
Yeah.
It does. There's no lumps. It just dissolves and put in water.
Right.
Well, a couple of days, I was like, how are you doing with taking it? Oh, they haven't given it to me.
They?
Yeah, that's what.
That was my reaction.
Wait, who was she talking about? Who's the they?
Because she's in a care unit.
Oh, I see.
They haven't given it to me,
and she hasn't asked for it.
Yeah.
Wow,
that's funny. But I mean, Amy, as soon as you said they, Amy's like they.
Exactly. That was my reaction too. It's like, what do you mean? They're not in charge of you. You're in charge.
Right. Yes.
How often do we hear people do that? Well,
right.
Well, what are the neighbors going to think?
Oh boy.
What's the family going to think?
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like I knew a friend, a guy that I knew. I mean, he was in a family business. Well, okay, but do you like it? No. Well, then stop.
Get out.
I can't.
Yeah.
Well, why not? Well, what would my family say? Well, you are not going to know until you tell them.
Right. And like you were saying earlier, too, the whole idea of finding joy and how contagious that is for other people, right? If people are living from a joyful, happy place, it can't help but have a positive impact on those around us.
Right.
Yeah. And this is just a totally random guess, but I'm imagining in this man's case that if he were to step out of that role that he hates, that there might be other family members who have been doing it for the same reasons that might feel permission, kind of like we were talking about, to step out of it too and find something that they really enjoy.
Yep. Right.
I like that. I like how you said, Amy, are you giving them permission?
Right.
Because maybe in their mind, they're like, okay, I'm stuck with you. And then he's probably like, you know what, I'm done.
Right.
I don't want to do this no more. I want to go and be in the circus. I'm just being totally
right.
You never like, I want to be in a circus too.
Exactly. Let's go together.
Yeah. And the other part of that too, Barb, that is so great that you guys did that. You brought it up. sometimes there might be somebody who's also in the family business that wants your job because they're doing
Oh, that's right.
they don't want to do.
That's
Right.
Because you're staying in the job that you hate.
Right.
They're stuck in a job that they hate.
Exactly.
That's
Oh,
good.
for heaven's sakes.
Yeah.
Get out of your way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's kind of funny because I've rarely worked for other people in my life. I've mostly been entrepreneurial because I find that I get into situations where I'm trying to change things and improve things, and oftentimes the people in power don't want that.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I left one. I
Put
left
those energies towards something that I can have control over and grow, and
Just be your own. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, okay, we're talking about hero stories. Miss Amy, I want to hear your hero story. Can you give us a little glimpse of that?
Sure. Well, I have a really unusual past, in the sense that I grew up in New York City, and I had kind of a life-changing moment when I was 13. My mother had taken something called the EST training, which was Werner Erhard's personal growth seminar back in the 70s. And she sent me to the adult training as a 13-year-old. And that was incredible and eye-opening. And the main message that I got out of that experience was, we create our own reality. And so from that point forward, I continued to take workshops and read hundreds of books, and just the whole process of growth and development, and, becoming more aware of who I am and how I show up in the world. And so all of these different experiences, including becoming a massage and polarity therapist, and being really interested in holistic health, and, leading some environmental movements in a town that I lived in Massachusetts, starting with writing letters to the editor in the local newspaper, because I'd always heard that that was the most read section of the paper. And I started to get this dialogue going about, all kinds of things, because there were some people in that town that were better living through chemicals type people, which I am the opposite of. And I mean, I think that they can be appropriate in certain situations. However, I tend to live my life more holistically and try to use, herbs and supplements and organic food. And, I really do believe that food is medicine. So I started to get this conversation going in this town, and it started to wake people up. But the biggest thing that woke them up was the fact that that town had 3 types of cancer above the state average.
Ooh.
And nobody knew why. It was this tiny little seacoast community. And so in this process of creating a big Earth Day celebration, and then this nonprofit to look at what might be the potential environmental causes, the one thing that we could identify was pesticides. There were a lot of people using pesticides on their little postage stamp lawns. And so if one person wanted to have an organic garden, good luck to them, because their neighbors might be spraying their trees or their grass. And there was a higher incidence of animal cancer. So long story short, I did all these different environmental things, got this whole green living focus where I continued to learn. And actually, when I was pregnant with my daughter, I came upon this little paperback book called The Non-Toxic Baby. And in that book, I discovered that there were all these toxic synthetic chemicals in everyday household products, like shampoos and cleaning products and carpets and paints. And I thought, how could this be happening? How come nobody's telling us this, much less regulating it? So I kind of went on a crusade at that point to learn all about this and figure out what were the safer alternatives. So I started a business at that time called Green Living Now, and I was mostly educational. I did sell the products that I thought were the best at that point, to the point where I actually got called by one of Oprah's producers. And she was actually going to come to my house in Vermont and interview me about my green living lifestyle, but at the last minute went with a nonprofit. And I was like, well, I was excited to have even been on her radar, and I felt like it probably wasn't really the time yet, because I didn't have anything in place to take advantage of that type of notoriety. But it just seems like it just keeps evolving from there. And so, like I think I said earlier, 14 years ago, I decided to become a coach because I love the idea, one, of course, being catalyst for change, but two, helping people go from where they are today to where they want to be, right? Like occasionally it might be relevant to talk about patterns that one identifies in the past, but most of the time you can really go from, point A to something in the future, especially if you have clarity around what it is. So one of my newest things is I've been leading these Vision Board Secrets masterclasses online. And that I feel is a great way for anybody to sort of get a big overview of their life. And I've been using them for 35 years and have created amazing stuff, like living on this organic farm in Vermont, having been a New York City girl, or attracting my soulmate. Even wrote a whole list of all the qualities I was looking for in a man, including blue eyes and brown hair, which I got with Dave.
Every detail. That's awesome.
Every detail, exactly. Or I adopted a horse when I was 42 or something, never having had a horse before, much less trained one, and he was only 4 months old. That was life-changing. So I'm constantly looking to create new, exciting, opportunities in my life, and then being able to share about them with other people and help inspire them to do whatever they feel called to do.
Yeah. Amazing.
See why I told you I love this girl?
I know. I'm just sitting here like in heaven right now, listening to every word that Amy's saying. This, and then now a long time, just a minute ago, when you first started, you said, I want to try and help people in their lives.
I shouldn't have used the word try.
There we go. And I wanted to make sure I got to that.
You are absolutely right.
You are making
you're right. And I didn't even hear myself say that. So I appreciate you noting that.
Words are powerful.
I look out for the queens. I look out for the queens.
I love that. I love that. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, wow. And you know what do I love too, Amy? That, your mother started to see parents, you got to love your parents. They start you out at an early age to get you grounded in that foundation so you could just,
right. And I think, and I think it was particularly important because in my experience anyway, when one takes something like a big personal growth and development type of program, you speak a different language, really, once you come through that. And I think a big part of her motivation was she wanted my sister and me both to speak the same language. And so we both really needed to go through that experience in order to have that common awareness and, language, like I said. And then she and I actually went on to continue to do a whole bunch of other workshops on, topics like money and relationships and whatnot. So I'm very grateful to her for letting me do that.
Amazing.
And back then, and we're not going to age ourselves, but you didn't do things like that.
Yeah, that's
certainly not a 13-year-old. And my two best friends ended up taking it too.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Yeah. And I personally, I'm going to rag on the school system. Let's rag on the school system.
Go right ahead.
Right now, because this is the type of thing that we should be teaching in school.
Yeah,
agreed.
Definitely.
Awareness.
Yes.
Right. And being responsible for ourselves and the life that we want to create without a blame kind of focus, but really realizing that we have the power. I think that's what it really gets down to. We have the power to create our lives the way we want them, whether we think we do or not. I mean, we're doing it unconsciously most of the time.
Right.
So we might as well become more aware and actually target the things that we want instead of just sort of rolling through life and, going to one thing to the next.
A friend of mine, his thing is that, you cannot do anything about the waves of life. You can either let them wash over you, you can let them pull you down, or you can learn to surf.
Oh yeah. I was going to say, where's the surfing part? And there it is.
You're just all killing me this morning with these wonderful quotes. I'm like, oh my God, I got to re-listen to this video.
Absolutely. Me too.
I'm loving every minute of it. Well, Amy, we got to bring her back, Barbara. We got to bring Amy back, right?
I'd love to.
With the
this
time
has been so much fun.
This has been heaven. I love this show. And Barbara always brings the queens on. So Amy, thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you both.
And
I think I've already invited her to the women's.
Oh, good.
Next Thursday for the third.
Good.
The once a month women's. I think I already invited you for that.
Oh, I'll have to look. Yes.
Yeah, that's another one of our
the diamond perspectives. Let's give us a plug.
Oh, I think you're right.
The diamond perspective panel of just we all get together and talk about life, and because we all have a different perspective.
Yeah,
and that sounds like fun.
And we learn from each other. We always grow and learn from each other. And I always tell people, never forget that. Like you just said a little earlier, Barbara. Like we shouldn't do it alone. We could do it together and make it faster moving forward. Build an empires.
We'll do more.
Each other's empires.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Amy, so
Thank
much.
you both.
I'm gonna put a heart up there.
Yeah. Oh,
Awesome.
Showing the
Appreciate
love.
it.
show the love.
And then
Thank you
next
so much.
week, same time, same station, Barbara. We will be back with another wonderful guest, and just let everybody know that what is it we're trying to make for Barbara's mission? We're trying to make happiness the norm.
The norm.
I love that.
Take care.
Have a good one, everybody.